But if you're not there, then we'll proceed in your absence. Turn to the next page. You are hereby ordered to appear for roll call on October the 25th, 2021 at 2 p.m. I acknowledge and understand that I'm to appear for and attend the above scheduled roster meeting. Also understand it is my responsibility and condition my bond that I hire an attorney or apply for a public defender within 15 days of this order. Should I fail to appear for roll call, a bench warrant will be issued for my arrest. If I fail to get an attorney within 15 days, my bond may be revoked. Understand there is a fee to pay the clerk of office for my public defender application, and that it's my responsibility to pay the fee within 15 days of this notice. Understand that should I fail to meet any conditions of my bond, the court will issue a bench warrant for my arrest and has the authority to revoke my bond. Before I set Mr. Murdaugh's bond, do you have anything to say from the Attorney General's office?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor, thank you. I believe there's a few conditions that we would ask for that the defense would probably not object to. The first one of those is surrendering the passport. I believe they have brought his passport here. We would ask that he surrender to SLED for them to keep it in their custody. The second thing is we would like for a bond requirement that he sign a waiver of extradition. It is my understanding that they plan for Mr. Murdaugh to be returned to a rehab out of state, and for that we would request that waiver of extradition. Finally, I think there's a few matters that we would disagree on. Your Honor, at this time we would request $100,000 surety as well as GPS. Your Honor, the reason for that, he has no prior record. However, while the charges here under the law are not violent, the underlying facts are violent. They indicated at least allegedly an intent to harm oneself, and that makes that person not only a danger to themselves, but that enhances the danger to the community in that regard. And indeed, they also involve conspiracy, and that means working with others for criminal activity. So I think that enhances the danger to the community. Also, since he is going out of state, I think that does raise a concern of a flight risk. He was at one rehab and will be going to a rehab in a different state. And again, he obviously has the resources to pay for these out-of-state inpatient rehab. I think that for that reason, GPS would be appropriate, Your Honor. And again, if after 30 to 60 days, if he has done fine on GPS, I'm sure I can speak with Mr. Harpootlian, or he can file whatever motion he wishes to file. But I think in this instance, it is appropriate that we have that GPS. I've seen these type of cases before, and sometimes those who had everything and who are suffering a possible fall from grace are actually more of a concern than a hardened criminal who's been in this situation before. For that reason, we would ask for that surety bond and a GPS.
May I remove the mask on? I speak clearly enough with the mask on to make myself understood. Your Honor, Alec Murdaugh has spent his entire life in this county. No prior record. Actually involved in all aspects of this community. And up until this charge, had no blemish on his character whatsoever. He has, and we would concede, has had a significant opioid addiction, which has led him into some financial issues and there's no question into this situation where he finds himself charged. Let me make a couple points. First of all, this crime involved his attempt to have himself shot so his son could collect insurance money. The only violence he's ever been involved in is this, which was to have himself executed. So he's not a danger to the community. The only person he's a danger to is himself. He immediately surrendered, immediately went to rehab after this incident. As soon as he got out of the hospital, he was shot in the back of the head. A bullet didn't actually penetrate his skull, went in with an entrance and exit wound. He may have had a minor skull fracture and some minor bleeding on the brain. As soon as he was released, he went to detox, and he was there for almost a week before he was ready to go to rehab. Unfortunately, the place he was at did not have a bed, and so we had to find him another bed. In terms of his financial resources, this is being paid for by insurance, not out of his pocket. And I can tell you as a result of the recent events, he is not a man of significant means anymore. Everything he owns is basically leaned up. We would surrender his passport to SLED. I brought it here today. Your Honor, I'd like to hand up to the court a letter. I don't want to publish it, and for the location of the rehabilitation facility, for obvious reasons. We have tremendous media interest in this. We certainly don't want them showing up. And I think it explains that the doctor believes he can benefit from this, and he only let him come up here. If he came up this morning, he needs to go back this afternoon to not get kicked out of the facility. 17-15-10, which is the statute governing bond, says he's entitled to a personal or cognizant bond unless it's shown he's a danger to the fleet. He has come here today on his own. He did not flee. He did not, once he knew he was charged. He is willing to waive extradition to come back whenever he is needed here. Again, every member of family, his connections are to this county. He's got nowhere to go. We're giving the passport to SWED. He doesn't have the financial means to leave the country, nor will he have a passport to leave the country. Your Honor, he has had a tremendous opioid addiction. The death of his wife and son have put him over the edge in terms of that addiction, and that is why, one of the major reasons he was considering having himself killed. The other thing I would say is this. There's no evidence of danger to the community or evidence that he would flee the jurisdiction to avoid prosecution. And the way these charges came about is that Mr. Griffin and I visited him at the detox facility on Monday of this week. He indicated he wanted to tell the truth. And I think SWED will affirm that they were expecting to show up down there and show him a lineup. They're investigating a drive-by shooting. When he and we decided he should call SWED, we asked him to record the conversation in which he detailed every element of what he is charged with today. Total cooperation. Gave him the name, told him about the gun, told him about the knife, and we believe was totally honest and forthright with them. So he himself has put himself in this by what he did to begin with, but is attempting to make amends by being truthful. He wants to cooperate with law enforcement. He's cooperated to the extent he can cooperate given his current mental and physical condition. And when he gets out of rehab, and by the way, we're more than willing to have the facility required to notify us and or SWED if he leaves the facility. We can do that, so that if he's not there and hasn't gotten court permission to leave there, he would be in violation of your bond order. Your Honor, as Mr. Waters indicated, he has fallen from grace. It has been a tremendous, but before any of that falling happened, his wife and son were brutally murdered, and that has had an extraordinary effect on him. So we'd ask you to allow him to go and help heal himself. A surety bond is not needed in this case, and the practical matter, his financial condition is ruinous. So we'd ask you to allow him out on his own recognizance. 17-15-10 would indicate and allow him to go to rehab, and of course mandate the rehab facility notify the court and or SWED if he leaves. And if he completes his treatment there, when he completes his treatment there, we'd ask them to notify us so we then can coordinate with SWED and the Attorney General's office on where he's to go next, whether he should come back here or whether he should go somewhere else. But this is a 20-year addiction. This is something he's struggling with every day. And if anyone wants to see the face of what opioid addiction does, you're looking at it. This is a horrible, horrible disease. So, Your Honor, I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
After hearing both sides, I don't feel that Mr. Murdaugh is going to be a risk to the community. I do, however, do want him to surrender his passport. and the waiver of extradition, we will have that in place. So with that being said, with the insurance false statement, misrepresentation, I'm gonna set his bond at $10,000, and that's gonna be a personal recognizance bond. And on the conspiracy, I'm gonna set it at $5,000, personal recognizance bond, and filing a false police report, $5,000 personal recognizance bond. His total bond is gonna be $20,000 personal recognizance, and that's gonna be the order of the court. If he does leave the facility, if you leave the facility without any permission, your bond will be revoked, and it will be a benchmark for your arrest.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
That'll be the order of the court. I need you to sign these papers.
Do the same thing you did on those, just his copy.
Okay, just fill everything into that same way. Your Honor, I'm at this point handing this passport to Swag for the record.
Your Honor,
So that letter does not become public information, can we have it back, please? Otherwise, we actually file it and receive it. Thank you, Your Honor.